Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is DownBackInfinity, and we're launching our very first episode of Real Talks. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah, I'm actually super excited to be able to just get a little bit more emotional, a little bit more riled up, and a little more engaged with some of the topics that are plaguing gamers today. And in fact, we're hitting off with something that's a little bit topical with the latest release of the South Park episode about freemium gaming. We're going to be talking about essentially how much money has been really fucking over games. But this is a specially titled episode that we have called, Travis, what is it called?
Case 101, Gamers versus Game Crap. What? Cash grabs. What? Did I just mess that up?
So,
when we're live, you son of a bitch. No.
So, for those of you who, maybe have a little bit less of a grasp of what's been happening, or you haven't been buying a lot of games, or you've been finding alternate ways to pay for your games, because that's ultimately what's been happening, is traditionally people bought a disc, and then they would bring that disc home and load it up. They had a CD key or something. They bought their game, and that was the end of the transaction, and that was the end of the money chain. And if the game was really good, they would keep playing the game, and if the game was really bad, then they were really frustrated with their poor purchase. But now, we've seen a lot of different marketing and economic models sort of branch their way into the gaming industry. So we have things like microtransactions, which are actually being taken into effect by a lot of gaming companies. There is the expansion or DLC model where you have that same initial investment, which apparently just isn't tempered by the notion of DLC. You still pay the same amount of money, and then you're expected to pay more for more content.
And to not to cut you, but as someone who, when I initially started hearing about that, I was really oblivious. I was just like, what's the problem? To like my brother, I was like they're fucking, I'm like, would it matter if they gave you the game app, like the DLC content later on release? Like, what's the difference? Either way, you're gonna have to pay for the DLC and get it. He's like, well, no, it's on the disc, so it's content they're just keeping away from you. And I'm like, well, so you would prefer that they just wait and then send it off online? And he's like, well, the thing is, they had time, basically. They had finished the game,
yes, and then
said, okay, guys, we don't have to release the game for another 3 months. And because now I don't know how paying works in game industry. If any of you guys know, please tell me. Is it like the more time? Because you usually have a deadline,
it's
right?
under contract. It's always under contract.
Exactly.
So you always have a deadline.
Right.
And the idea is that there are elements to post-production of a game that take a certain amount of time. And during that time of post-production, you have it if you're still, you still have money being paid out to your programmers and they're still under contract, they can start developing whatever they want. Which is usually how you end up with on-disc DLC, which is, we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that. But DLC is one of the most controversial topics that we're going to be discussing. There is a subscription-based model for game payments, so World of Warcraft, anything where you pay monthly. And those games have done very well for themselves, and it has proven to be a very effective model because more often than not, it still has cost effectiveness if you were to compare it to, say, like a movie. It's usually the price of a movie ticket, if that, per month. You spend like hours and hours and hours per month. You see value in that. And so those are sort of like the four major models that we've sort of seen come about. I mean, there's obviously other stuff where you're dealing with like the freemium thing, but like that's still something that we sort of covered. Okay.
Another thing I wanted to add on to it, along with DLC on this DLC and freemium stuff, early access, whereas alpha funding.
Oh yeah.
So there's a whole slew of
that's sort of the kickstarting process, which has blown up in my face. I mean, like, I kickstarted a game that I thought was going to be fucking incredible, and it wasn't.
Oh.
But it was such a great idea. I mean, like, it was called Acron, and it was a time dilation RTS. Like, you could go back in time. You could literally grab a scroll bar at the bottom of the screen and go back 3 minutes in time and make changes to your commands, right? And those changes ripple throughout the timeline at double speed. And so you get to see it's weird. Like, you could deal with all kinds of paradoxes. It was a very cool concept for a game, but the execution was garbage. But then there's been startups that have done really well, and there continue to be startups that do really well, and Alpha
Daisy,
Mighty number 9.
Daisy, king of that.
DayZ is definitely a very good example of that, because it really delivered. And it went far. I mean, Minecraft. My buddy was on the alpha for Minecraft. He bought, at that point in time, you could spend $5 to get a lifetime Minecraft account. And my buddy bought 5 of them, and he gave 1 to each of us, along with himself. He had 3 for himself and 1 for each of his roommates. And like, so I have Minecraft forever because, I paid $5 early and Bob's your uncle. And, there is merit in that because it really allows, like, independent developers to fund their game. And I think it's a very cool thing to have happen. But let's take it back for a second. So we have this sort of phenomena, this craze that is plaguing gamers. And I mean, like, so far, out of the models that I've outlined, only 2 of them have really stirred up a lot of controversy recently. There's really no controversy behind buying a product and then playing that product. The initial model for games is like, it's accepted. That's how it goes. You can just buy a game. Game's yours forever. Play it as much as you want or play it as little as you want. It sucks or it doesn't. And there's very little controversy behind subscription-based gaming because it's the same notion, except that you're paying more for the time to play the game. But it still sort of translates in the same way. However, DLC is just such an it's so raw right now, and it's so new, and it's so prone to abuse that it really is being abused as such. And so, like, we deal with things like on-disc DLC, right? Or games that just really don't complete. And I think this is a really timely discussion for us to come across because Destiny is probably the biggest culprit of this.
Oh yeah.
In recent history, which is to say that there's mounds of on-disc, like literally, like veritable fuck tons of on-disc DLC, and they designed the game in mind where you would pay more to like, and it's not like the notion of it being a somewhat incomplete or crappy game scaled into that price of theirs. The initial price was it like a $60, $70 game? Like, it's not cheap.
No, it's a AAA full-blown price title.
Yeah, AAA title. All the bells and whistles on top of it. And then to put DLC, strip the game down to its bare essentials, and then have, in terms of story and stuff, have the cool stuff like the multiplayer and all that intact. And then all the interesting stuff put behind a paywall.
So I think what we as gamers, and you guys can tell me if you agree or disagree with this, but I think we as gamers really need to take a step back from things like hype, clout, and that sort of thing, and really analyze if someone at any point hints at the idea of a game being designed around DLC, and then they try and charge you for a premium title cost, you should avoid it like the plague.
Unfortunately, people are just...
No, as much as we want to point fingers at the companies and say that they're the problem, we're the problem. We buy into their bullshit. We're the problem.
And that doesn't let the companies be free of scrutiny. Like, fuck you still. Like, we are the problem.
In the foot.
Well, let's look at this devil's advocate in a way from the point of like the big corporations in any case right there. So once upon a time,
if it's not broke, don't fix it.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. A time-honored tradition, but no. Well, yes and no. Because back then, like, games would come out, as you said. If it's good, people would talk about it. Yes. And people would keep on talking about it. And then there would be a community that formed around the game, and that game would be hoisted up, and everyone would know it's a great game.
Yes.
With bad games, they were bad. We talked about it. That's it. It's just no. It was very simple.
It's 2014.
I know, it's very simple. No, but now you can solely build off hype, off the game. One game in particular, out the gate, Watch Dogs. Just Watch Dogs.
There you go.
All the hype, all the advertising. You couldn't turn on your TV. You could be watching Steve Harvey. Just an old program, Steve Harvey. And the next thing, it's coming out, Watch Dogs. And it's just all over the place.
Well,
advertising and marketing.
There's 2 types. Yeah, there's advertising and marketing hype, and then there's also community hype.
Community hype. But not a lot of people, I mean, people always look for the community hype in any case right there, but you can't escape the advertising in any sense. It's very, very smart of them to keep doing that in that case right there. They're not going to stop. Like, Destiny was able to roll out the numbers it did solely based off of Bungie and marketing and all the hype alone. They rolled out so many numbers.
But they did that. Here's the thing. They had a track record. So you look at, like, the companies that have generated hype, and it's like, well, Bungie made Halo. It's not like it's undeserved. It's like, whoa.
Oh,
like, Halo 1 was a great game. I didn't like Halo 2, and it kept me away from Halo 3 and the franchise milking that occurred thereafter. But Halo 1 was a very good game.
I liked Halo 2, honestly, as well. I enjoyed both. I thought Halo 2 was a great improvement, but we're not here to talk about.
That's neither here nor there. The point is that their past distinctions are also what generated their hype, right? So, like, hype is not something that... It's not like this, like, intangible commodity that games somehow come across. It's like, hype is there for a reason, right? Either it's what we've seen of the game is very impressive, or the developers have impressed us in the past. Which is like one of the things that Blizzard has done really well. That's why Blizzard continue, I mean, they don't just ride their own hype train, they also fuel it. They really make good games all the time. Like, and there's been mix-ups and mess-ups and foibles. Like, the Diablo 3 was very underwhelming, but Blizzard being the company they were, they went back and they made good on it. And they had they had obviously incentives because they wanted to get people into Reaper of Souls and all that, but regardless, like...
And you know what? I know what Trav and you were saying about like it's our fault, blah, blah, and why would they stop? Of course, right? If it fucking is working, why would they stop? But like, when you hear about the people who talk about Blizzard, like the fans, they sound like real, like, you know what I mean? Like loyal people who like really enjoy the company and think they're great. And like, that's what you want. And I guess they don't see the value in that so much. Cause you never hear anyone who buys each Call of Duty like, yeah, EA is such a good company, man. They really care.
Buying new Call of Duty games because all their friends are gonna buy the new Call of Duty games.
Exactly. So it's saying, what's the worth of being seen as like a good stat? Like, hell, like, they can keep apologizing about certain microtransactions and DLC and shit and then keep doing it. That's retarded. Blizzard are like, you know what? The in-house auction, not cool.
Yeah. This is not working for us.
And that's it. And they didn't fucking leave it around or make all this ton of money off it or like are gonna abuse it again. They learned their damn lesson. They said they're sorry, and everyone's like, you know what? It's okay, Blizzard. We love you. You know what I mean?
Itemization and item drops.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, we made a mistake. We can admit our fucking mistake without like going back on it. And so that's what I'm trying to ask. What's the value of being seen as a company who does that? Clearly not to EA and Ubisoft and stuff. No, fuck it. That's not worth shit. We just want the big bucks.
Longevity.
Like at some point it has to come crashing down on them.
Okay.
Right?
So here's something to put things in perspective. Over the past 2 years, I have a list of like 20 games right now with on-disc DLC. And these are not like little indie games. These are like kind of big titles. Of them, or actually no, this is more than 2 years. But like of them are BioShock 2 for the 360, PS3, and PC. There's a multiplayer expansion pack that's on disc, that's DLC. Bulletstorm had 6 echoes on it. There's Ghost Recon, Future Soldier. These are not small names. Let's see. Saints Row 3 had on disc DLC. Both Soul Calibur 4 and Soul Calibur 5, like Soul Calibur 4, Darth Vader and Yoda are on the disc. Both of them. And they're both DLC. Yeah! Right?
Well, hold on.
Street Fighter Tekken, Street Fighter X Tekken.
Ultimate
Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Yeah, there's Tekken character.
I love to see this at the bottom of the list. Even WWE 12. WWE 12. I can't play HBK. Screw you guys.
He's a fucking legend. How dare you? I have to ask. When it comes to the on-disc DLC for you mentioned it.
Which one?
Which game? Fighting game.
Street Fighter?
Tekken X Street Fighter.
Soul Calibur?
Fuck.
Every
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
no, I joke. I kid.
No. A lot of the on disc DLC is a lot of them tend to give away like the DLC with the game if you buy it completely new, right? Like at least with these fighting games, I'm pretty sure. Not Ultimate Marvel because I know I bought it.
Costumes.
And no, they. Oh yeah, but yeah. So a lot of this is to fight. Let me fucking big in quotes. Fight piracy, right? Because they don't want you to buy used games and shit, or not even just piracy, but like used games, because that was a whole debacle. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Because so they'd be like, oh, what? You bought a used game? Well, guess what? It's fucking not the full thing. You're upset. Which, by the way, doesn't work. You're just punishing the consumer.
Yeah, they were just
like,
punishing the consumer. I was really upset about that with, what was it, Arkham City?
Yes.
Yeah, I was really upset about that. I wanted to fucking play Catwoman. Yo, you laugh, but like, I was not pleased.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, why the fuck don't I get to play Cat? Because I bought the game off of like someone else? Like, go fuck yourself.
True.
I can just say the thing no one ever says. DLC initially, do you guys know what your first DLC you bought was? If you have, I mean, if you haven't at all, well, holy shit.
Probably Warcraft 2 expansion set is my first technical DLC.
Oh my god.
Well, yeah, okay.
Oh.
Boom! Yeah, that's right. I fucking went there. Expansions are fucking DLC. But guess what? At least they're fucking good DLC.
Well, it was based off the game doing well, not off of we had extra time and we charged you extra money for it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, when you say that, then I guess it'd be like Brood War.
Yeah.
Actually.
Warcraft 2, what is it? Tides of Darkness, Through the Dark Portal was a great expansion. It was my first expansion. Oh, I was in love.
Yeah, DLC is not, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like, obviously, and everyone just looks at it bad. It's a good thing. The most recent one I remember from new was like Borderlands. Like, I really enjoyed Borderlands, the original, and then they came out with some DLC or something, and I straight up bought it, and it wasn't on disc and shit, because they had no idea if Borderlands would do well. It was a totally new IP with a really interesting concept, and they're just like, how about we just make it like really like weird and gritty and kind of neat and like,
hilarious.
I'm not gonna say hip. Yeah, right? Like, it is really a lot of it, the appeal is the narrative and the interactions between the characters. Oh, it did well. Boom. DLC. Great thing. Like, one of my favorite games, and I know it's fucking common, like Final Fantasy VII, and they were just like, hey, guess what? Final Fantasy VII did well. Here's like some more story, like a whole other disc. I would have been like, ah! I would have.
Well, they did do that, Link. It's called Crisis Core.
Oh, yeah.
How did you That's not just, that's
I
its
didn't
own
think
game.
you were gonna go there.
I know, eh?
That is straight up its own game. Come on. I mean, I know it's a spin-off. That's totally different.
It's the
DLC
prequel, buddy.
DLC and spin-offs are the same thing.
It's on a whole different platform, actually.
Yes, it is.
That is true, yeah. So it may not be...
Wasn't it well received, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes.
Yeah, like, it was straight up a good
I don't
game.
think it did great in sales, but...
No, not great in sales, but when people play it, they were like, ooh,
Nothing on PSP had great sales.
Well, that's a whole other issue. It's not because the games are bad. Actually, the games are really excellent.
PSP problem.
PSP gets a bad rap, but
Because it was the easiest thing to pirate in the world.
Yeah.
Unnecessary. Yeah, and oh my god, and they were just like, even like the Vita was just so ahead of. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm gonna start talking about fucking Dreamcast and shit. And how why it failed.
No, I think there's a very good point that's just been brought up, is the idea that gamers as a market are really hard to deal with. Like, first off, it's not just that like we're quote unquote children, it's that we're also children. Like, a lot of us are just kids. Like, we're just children. And so it's really easy to attribute it to, I had this conversation with someone before, but making a good game is kind of a lot like the restaurant experience, which is to say that everything has to go right. You have to do, and there's so much that can go wrong. And for every little thing that's wrong, that person complains to the umpteenth degree. Okay. Right? Yeah. And then in the case of gamers, it's like, well, also they're a bunch of fucking thieves. Like, if they can get it for free, you can bet your ass they will. Right?
And like the internet, yeah.
No, like I'm not saying and I've bought a vast majority of my games, but at the same time, what games have I pirated? I can't even. I think there's like been a few. There's been a few games that I've pirated. By and large, I mostly buy. I buy my games.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even think of a game I've pirated.
Masters of Orion 3 was a game I pirated. There you go. But that's a game that probably no one in their right mind has ever heard about. Imagine. Anyway, not important.
Physically,
So why
physically
didn't
shaking my head.
didn't give them the money and they weren't able to advertise.
Totally.
There it is.
And so within that, you have to sort of like cut the company some slack every now and then, but don't buy into their bullshit, guys. Like, just don't. Like, what I want to hear is that, like,
Destiny.
I want to hear that Destiny spent another, like, couple $1 million on DLC, but it was too late, and everyone was just like, fuck this. And they just, like, they gave up. And they didn't want to hear, and Bungie never made another game again because of the catastrophic and colossal failure to their to their fans as opposed to their shareholders.
I don't think, but like there are worse companies that have done worse things that should be not reprimanded, but like
Name them.
punished. Well, I guess I could say EA, generally speaking, as a publisher, the things that they've done.
Okay, so like it's very easy to brand EA. Look at the developer. Don't look at the publisher.
But it's not the developer's fault when it comes.
Sure,
to
it is. It totally is.
Like you said, contract. Well, okay. I guess it depends on different situations. Yeah. So we can't really it's too broad to say everyone does this, but it does depend on the projects. I know that for a few games, when it came to developers having extra time, instead of creating more DLCs, this is something I've said before, and your game is not like at its core good, why don't you fix the core of your game, make it better before you go and create more content for people to play, and then your game ends up doing trash.
Yeah.
I think one recently was like Watch Dogs.
Destiny?
I haven't played Watch Dogs. Like, full stop. Like, I just heard so many bad things about Watch Dogs that I just wasn't willing to put the money or the time in.
I think where it started, though, is that it came with, when people saw the E3 trailer, and it looked stunningly beautiful, and then when the game was released,
I saw it, I was like, holy shit.
The game was released, it's like, wait, why am I not reaching that in which you said, like, I could, and I'm on the PC, and then people went digging in the files, and it's like, alright, Ubisoft, what the hell? And then people are like, okay, wait, why is there on this DLC? What the hell? Wait, what is, and then it just kind of just blew up, and instead of the game being, I guess, judged on how good it was judged on what it did wrong, and that's why you hear a lot of people saying it's a bad game. And honestly speaking, there are a ton of wrong things in the game, but definitely speaking, it wasn't a terrible game. I still enjoyed it. It was a good storyline, and I think that it just everyone hates the game because, like I said, it's everything that Ubisoft did wrong with it. Not with only the gameplay, but with marketing and strategies and like just a ton of things, right? Just a ton of things.
Oh my god.
It's unfortunate.
But what I just put in the chat and we're gonna put in the description, sorry Trav, keep the thought in your head, is a chart for when Watch Dogs was coming out. All of the different DLCs that you could get depending on what platform, where you bought it from, or like season pass and all this shit, and there was no way to get everything.
Yeah.
That's insane. This is before the game was released.
This is for Watch Dogs only?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Watch Dogs.
Oh my god, you cannot get everything.
And it is insane. This is before the game was released. This is out. They planned this. This is like, talk about unacceptable. And you know what? They kind of paid for it. I don't know what Watch Dogs sales numbers are. I have to look. But man, did they lose a lot of trust points. I guarantee for Watch Dogs 2, which is already in plan, people are gonna be very skeptical, not gonna rush to the store to buy it immediately.
Well, I think what we're starting to learn now is that the gaming market is a long-term industry, and that you can try and cash in early and cash in quick with something that's a flimsy product, but it can cost you. And we've seen now multiple developers put a bullet in their own foot, right? They've just taken the gun out, loaded it slowly, pointed it downwards, and pulled the trigger as they developed games that just were designed around the business model as opposed to designing a good game.
Exactly. And I think it is going to stop working. I know it sounds a little optimistic, but I feel like the time is coming
Well,
when they're
I don't
gonna
know. I'm
fucking
completely
no,
Lizzo.
like let's look at I hate to do this because we always do this. We always look at League of Legends as a successful business model.
It's a huge game,
But it's-
so
It didn't become a huge game overnight,
No.
right? Like this is a game that's been 5 years in the making, quote unquote, because the game's constantly changing and adapting and evolving, and it's only in this most recent year that it's really started to like make humongous amounts of bank, right? Because obviously the Asian market started to kick in, and that's no small market. But they took this game from the ground up, and they just thought to themselves, we're just going to make a good game. We're going to make a good game. We're going to make a good game. And if we make a good game, we're going to make money. And we're going to invest in a long-term relationship with their customer. Because that's what they're looking at. They look at this idea of the freemium thing where you spend real money on fake currency, but it still delivers value. Like, lots of value. And the game itself being free is of insane value to them. Right?
Yeah, and then you'll want to give we all know like Riot kind of had some humble beginnings, and it was like a very small thing.
And how?
And these guys were like, they didn't have too much. Obviously, they had enough to start a game, but they were just they weren't like corporate fat cats or had all these advisors. They were just guys who were just like, let's make this game because we like Dota is successful and we're part of the team that helped do that. Let's make our own. They weren't even really worried about the cash. Obviously, it was free to play and they had the option. And now, as I've said before on the show, I spent over $300 in League. What?
Yeah, but that's over the course of 5 years. Right?
No. That's what I'm saying is this is the difference between making your game like a bad free to play and a good free to play. Then you have Rumble Fighter on the other side. Maybe you don't know it. Talked about it briefly. Mick knows it. Yeah. Holy shit. I'm gonna break this down. I'm gonna take the time to break this down. Rumble Fighter game, you fight a 3D plane. Hold on, what? What were you saying?
Pay to win.
Yeah. You fight in a 3D plane and your initial combo, your only combo before you get any gear or anything let's just say AAA, is like punch, kick. That's it. And it does whatever amount of damage, it knocks a person down if you hit the full thing. In this game, if you pay money, the guy can get a move where he hits one button, a giant dragon flies out and hits everyone on the whole fucking screen.
Well, I think that Riot had a really good, they knew right off the bat that if you're gonna spend money on the game, it's not gonna be to win. Right? They understood intrinsically that the best way to do that sort of thing is, it's really unfortunate that in the wake of their success, people were unable to latch on to that very simple concept. Exactly. Right? Like, I just think that's a tragedy that a game like that exists.
They were like, they're just sitting around in the boardroom like, you know what, League did this, we should do it. But wait, everyone hold the fuck on. What if we do it really badly? Like, we can squeeze more money out of everyone. Well, they'll love that.
And that's sort of what the freemium mobile app craze has been about sweeping the nation, is that you put in things that delay the player somehow, that can be overcome with money. So they don't get that gratification quickly if they don't pay, or you provide a currency which can just rapidly evaporate but is used to win the game.
And they use psychological tricks.
Yeah.
Really,
they're like, here's a lot of rewards really quickly. Don't you love shiny rewards and colors? Okay, we're going to slow it down.
Good job, guy.
We're really going to slow it down. Oh, man, it's so slow. I bet you're craving it. Well, if you just give us some of that in your wallet.
That's been the curse of free-to-play games for a long time, though. So it's not only just a quick buck like Farmville. Farmville.
You mean MapleStory?
Well, there's a way to overcome that, and that's to get involved in, so you can take your time as a gamer away from freemium games and put them into free-to-play games that don't pressure you or just have just generally bad games. Like, it's within the capability of the consumer to choose the product they want.
No way.
Yeah, I know, right? It's funny how that works. And until people sort of wake up to the fact that there are games that are just way fucking better and that you don't need to feed your dopamine fix with fucking,
exactly.
horrendous levels of microtransactions. We're not going to see progress. I feel like Candy Crush Saga was like one of the first big, because like it's all colors and sounds and great work.
It's a casino effect.
Yeah.
It's the goddamn casino effect.
It's exactly that. Sugar Crush. Like, when there's like fucking, you quit the level and there's fucking fireworks and it's like Sugar Rush and like candy's fucking exploding everywhere and you're like, this is fucking awesome. I beat the fucking level. Like,
they might as well have a sexy woman come on the screen like, wow, you're a fucking beast. It's like, yeah, I know I am, baby.
So good at this game. And like, meanwhile, it's literally like the stupidest game. I don't want to insult anyone who plays. Actually, it's okay if you play Candy Crush. I mean, for much out of your gaming experience, obviously. And
DownBackInfinity does.
God bless if it.
Well, I'm not gonna insult you if you played Candy Crush or tried it. I've actually legitimately never played it. I was very close because a lot of people were playing it, but then I've never cared about those mobile things. I have a lot of friends who do.
I dated a girl who was super into Candy Crush, and I'm like, all right, I got to see what the hype is about.
Yeah.
And there isn't that much pressure to use the majiggers, the paid for power-ups. However, you start hitting this like steep plateau of like, well, good luck with this fucking level without any fucking power-ups, and you're like, oh. And it's mostly done through random chance, like the type of what do you call them? Anyway, like it's all random chance.
Yeah.
Your success is governed by and large by random chance.
Yeah, random number generation.
You pray to the RNGesus.
Yes.
RNG gods.
This chart is frightening. I'm still looking it over right now.
Isn't it?
White, like.
Can I say you know what? If you're watching it on YouTube and you're just like, I don't want to fucking click that thing. I'm gonna just say it really quick. There's a ton of expansions in this chart and it has red or green. Green basically is like, this is what you get with it. So standard edition, you get the game disc, obviously.
Yeah.
And you get the white hat pack if you're on PlayStation. Now, if you get a special edition, you get the breakthrough pack. And then the other things you got before. Well, let's say if you run season pass, you don't get the white hat pack, but you get a bunch of but you get a bunch of other shit like Bloom Agent pack. I don't even know what any of these mean, by the way. They're either cosmetic or some special mission.
Literally none of them guarantees you half of the content.
I'm literally looking at the bottom of the thing, three exclusive badges, and you get. I'm trying to even scope over right now. Oh no, you need a.
Yo, I want that fucking art book.
It's in Europe. It's in Europe.
Here's all the editions. Here's all the standard edition, special edition, vigilante edition, Uplay exclusive edition, limited edition, Dead Sec edition.
That's
what the
one.
fuck?
Digital Deluxe Edition.
Uplay deluxe edition, gold and season.
Then there's a Uplay deluxe edition. So there's a digital deluxe edition, and there's a Uplay deluxe edition.
Hey, season pass and everything, right?
Oh,
Aren't they both online anyway?
Oh my god, Uplay is the Ubisoft gaming platform for multiplayer.
Oh my god, dude, my friend was like, hey, I have Watch Dogs for free. You want it? I'm like, I guess, cause I'll take a free $60 game. And I went on, like, all you have to do is like sign up and install Uplay. And I was like, no.
I played on Uplay for Heroes of Might and Magic 6?
I put on Uplay for the crew beta, and that's basically it.
Yeah, that's...
Wait, Heroes of Might, you don't mean Might and Magic Clash of Heroes. That is totally different.
I think it's still the Heroes of Might and Magic thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's on Steam.
It's on Steam, however, Uplay.
Oh, okay.
You still, it's like, here's the Steam engine, you still have to use Uplay, and it's like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? Where is it? It's, Might and Magic, Heroes 6.
And there's nothing, like, if they want to make, like, their own online server, even though Steam has the goddamn monopoly on it, if they want to make their own, sure, but they don't offer anything that you can't get from Steam, actually it's probably more annoying and frustrating and less a selection and more space on your computer and more things to run. It's pointless. It's really pointless. I don't want to be like, it's like a waste of time, because it's like saying, like, it's a waste of time to make an MMO because World of Warcraft's the best, but like, fuck. Like, shit, you're not even trying anything new.
What did you guys think of the Hearthstone model?
It works.
Yeah?
That's all I can say.
Never played
Hearthstone.
It does work, yeah.
When I first heard about it, I was like, okay, you're doing exactly or pretty much what League of Legends doing at first, and then they're like, in order to continue and get more cards to fit the meta, you need to pay more money.
Well, I don't know if it's that exactly. I thought it was more about Arena. But for those of you at home who don't know what Hearthstone is, it's an online... It's not a trading card game. It's a playing card game. You can't really trade your cards. And the way the game usually generates money is that you can buy arena passes, which is to say there's a type of play that lets you build a deck from randomly generated cards, and then you get to play against other decks constructed this way. So how much of a deck you currently have and the compendium of cards you have a selection to, it does not come into play for this competitive way of playing. And you can normally get into arena play through spending gold, which is naturally accrued through the course of playing standard levels of play. But if you really don't want to wait around, so it's that whole waiting thing, you can just spend money and it's like $1. It's like nothing, right? But like, I know people who've spent hundreds of dollars on Hearthstone Arena and they get lots of cards. And even when they have all the cards, here's the thing that I find most appealing and shocking and funny about this is that the rewards from Arena have no bearing on how well you do in future Arena. So like, it's always a new randomly generated deck and only your experience in Arena governs your rate of success.
Your success. Okay,
I like
that's good.
Yeah, it's like one of the best models they've come out with in like a long time. Like, free to play wise, it's one of the best models I've ever played. It's just, like, I mean, I've played it like multiple times, and I never put a dime in the game as of yet. And every single time I just said, I have enough gold, just hit it, go into Arena. Oh, I don't have to worry about anything. Everything's randomly generated. No problem. All right, just this, that, and this, and then hopefully you actually are good enough to actually use these cards in the right order. That's perfect. And it's nothing compared to like Candy Crush or whatever, like where you have it. The base gameplay is fun enough. The base gameplay is fun enough without having to pay to enjoy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In order to pay to alleviate the tediousness of the game.
Can I ask something? I think you guys hit on Maple Story earlier. Was it Maple Story's pay thing purely aesthetic?
Yes.
Yes.
It was at one point. At one point.
Wait, at one point. Has that changed?
No,
Yeah.
like, even
It's
the
Maple Story's
beginning,
a pay to win now.
Ooh,
What?
man.
like in the beginning, the pay to win was you could buy a pet, it could loot shit for you. That's basically all the extent of pay to win was in Maple Story.
Yeah, it made it a little bit easier to pick your stuff up. That's,
Now,
I remember that.
your equipment needs to be paid for.
That's unfortunate.
Oh, my goodness.
I know I don't play Maple Story anymore, and like I won't be like, it was so good. I was fucking young, and the game was incredibly
Wild and
charming. The game was really charming. It had like bright colors and it was so happy, and the mushrooms were like,
Everything was
like,
kitty.
oh my God.
Cute.
Yeah, exactly. But like, oh, that's goddamn. Was that necessary? Was that absolutely? Why did Nexon? I assume still my Nexon move to that. Like they were doing well, right? With Maple Story, it was their biggest game.
Well,
made a
now
ton
it
of money.
has a lot of people playing it.
So here's like, I think we're probably going to wrap this up soon because we've sort of been going on for a while, and there is I know, right? And we've covered some really strong topics, right? We've talked about and here's the thing: the old business model for games is not out yet. Like we look at something like Stick of Truth, right? Which was a very hyped game, and it's still topical because we were talking a little bit about South Park. It was a good game. I wouldn't say it had a great deal of replay value, and it was pretty overpriced. However, it did deliver. It was a very hilarious game to play through, and it was still very fun to play. And it sort of pays homage to the fact that the, standard classical method of generating income through developing games is still ever present and strong in the market. And was there DLC for Stick of Truth?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, there was. I'm trying to remember what it was specifically.
Really?
Was.
Yeah, exactly. It's
There
really?
was.
The game was so complete that the notion of DLC is just
It
sort
was
of like,
purely aesthetic, though, if I
it's
remember.
just fluff, right? And it's an homage to our old school brethren.
Yeah, let me put it into the chat here and the chat on thing.
And we still see subscription-based gaming somewhat prevalent. I think that Blizzard's kind of like, they ask a little bit much because they still want you to cover the upfront cost of the game. Like, bought enough expansion packs for World of Warcraft that I really shouldn't have to buy another one. Or that I feel like purchasing the game should come with a little bit more than 1 month of game time. But that's neither here nor there. Subscription-based gaming is still strong.
I do agree, but yeah.
We, however, I just rally a cry to arms, call to arms for we as a gaming populace just need to be smarter about DLC. And if you
consider if you need it.
If you like free-to-play games or you like freemium games where you can invest a little bit of money, I really suggest you just do your research, because there's really good ones out there that really do deliver and provide a solid gaming experience without having to spend a dime. And your investment in their game is for purely aesthetic purposes, or it's in the case of Hearthstone, like you get the arena experience.
Or well, of course, with League, like you could get the champions faster.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah. Your ramp up time to get involved in the game.
Overall, if the content that you can pay for is not like changing the game like entirely in terms like, I can still go back to a old game called Conquer Online where you could buy out your equipment with money.
Yeah.
So it was just like any games where it changes the experience of the game like that.
You really need
shouldn't be.
Avoid like the plague.
Yes.
Just avoid it like the plague.
Again, those ones though, they really are dying. There's a reason like Rumble Fighter's not that successful. People barely heard, and they had to change fucking who they were with.
It's a dying breed.
People just don't put up with that bullshit. It's right in their face. But yeah, really think about it. Like, do you need Destiny? Do you need this new game? Like, you probably have plenty of games to play. And you know what? You might not put like.
There is no harm
Don't be lazy.
in waiting one more month for the dust to settle and see what a game is like.
Or a week.
Wait a week. Why, by and large, I have not been purchasing a lot of new games. It's not that I don't have the money or I don't have the interest. It's that I'm patient. And that when I exercise my patience and I get to see what everyone sees in the game or doesn't see in the game, it saves me a lot of time and money.
Uh-huh.
Right? I don't have to deal with all the nonsense and the letdown and the heartache and the blatant money grabbing that goes on in the industry. So
yep, exactly. And pre-ordering is a thing. Like, guys, like I know the only reason to ever pre-order a game is if you're really that confident, you know it's going to be sold out.
That's the only reason. I really want to pre-order Warlords of Draenor so I can just get a level 90 character and not worry about garbage and bullshit.
Fair enough.
And what I've seen, they've also like been redoing the game.
Are you going to play it?
I don't know.
See, that's the thing. I will only buy into Warlords of Draenor if I know enough people who play it. Then I'll be like, okay, let's play. But
I don't know if I've mentioned this before, guys, but we talked before in a lot of episodes back about what are they going to do about the horrendous numbers in World of Warcraft. You guys remember how this was a topic of discussion? Mm-hmm. Now that we're on it, I just want to bring this up. And I was like, you know what?
This was at like the very beginning.
And I was like, you know what? They're probably just going to hard reset it. Guess what they fucking did? They fucking hard reset the numbers.
That's true.
Back to like Burning Crusade numbers of like 1,000 agility. I feel like the fucking chess master right now.
He's like, I don't know, it'd be too much.
God.
The old
no
man
way,
that
you're
you
gonna
see
have
in the
people
poster.
running around with like 3 million hit points. That's just ridiculous.
That dude, like, it's 1 trillion damage. I mean, and I think that's hardly an over-exaggeration. I think, it was almost like, what was it? The hardest crit strategy found? It was like something, it was like a million something.
It was a million. It was
Yeah.
way over 1 million.
Wait, what? I'm like, wow.
I do 1 million crit damage. Psh, bro. That was old 6 months ago. Get with the times.
Get out of the way, Grandpa. Because every gamer talks like that.
Oh, gosh.
Excellent, though. The only things we didn't touch on, and we don't have to say much about them, I just want to say, we did just touch on pre-order. Again, patience is your friend. You think you might need it right away, or you're bored with your life because, I don't know, fucking life. Just wait. Just wait. Do some research. Don't be lazy. Don't be don't be the consumer they want you to be.
Don't throw away your money.
Yeah. Exactly. Even because gamers tend to be people with excess cash, at least a little. So yeah, like fucking just don't be the consumer they're looking for, because you're the cash cow and they love you.
I lament purchasing Diablo 3. When Diablo 3 first came out, like so many friends were like, no, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. Blizzard does well. And like, man, I regretted that decision so bad.
Oh
yeah, same.
I should have gone with my gut. And I should.
And you know what? It was because I had a ton of friends who were just getting a million, just kept talking about it. And that's what makes it hard, is when all your friends are like, And then you're like,
Hey, I don't know what your friends are like, but friends.
Believe it or not, all my friends are fairies.
I always had a suspicion about your sexual orientation, but I guess
that's not what I meant when I said fairies. Anyway, guys, and just microtransactions. That's just complete bullshit. Don't make me pay $60 for a game and then buy shit inside of the game to make it better. Dead Space 3, I'm looking at you, you motherfucker.
Want to also attach to anybody that's early accessors? Don't, you get what you pay for in these cases right here. Patience is your friend. Everything what's been said before. Research the game. Be patient. I have
the internet at fingertips almost at all times.
Oh my!
Research.
I'm trying to even remember again. Anyone that's played Rust. Rust is good, but a lot of people dropped off of it. I thought it was gonna go on forever.
So many friends playing Rust for so long and putting lots of hours into that game. They really liked it too. I never played it. I have no opinion, but I saw the hype train forming. Anyway,
DayZ, same thing.
We were talking a little bit about World of Warcraft, and I think that's an important segue point that we're going to touch on because our next Real Talks episode is going to be about MMOs. And I know that within this collective group of people,
we will have a nice name.
There's a compendium of experience that goes along with the MMORPG, and we've seen a little bit of a decline, and I think we're going to be talking a lot about the trends in the industry, where it all started. EverQuest was a nice beginning, but it really didn't have a lot of our attention at that time. We're going to go into a Real Talks about MMORPGs or MMOs in any case.
It's going to be a good one because, man, I got shit to say.
Everybody's got an MMO story.
You have no idea.
Right. I'm going to make people mad.
I think that you're going to definitely hear a lot of personal experiences that are far more personal than a game should get, which is why I think MMOs are such an interesting topic of conversation. And if you, the audience at home, if you are watching this on YouTube and you have a story about MMOs and you want to just type it in the comments, we'll talk about it, we'll bring it up, or if you want to send us a message, anything, we want to hear your MMO story, where things just got too, there's the amount of EVE Online stories that have just been formed, and this game is more.
I actually heard some of those.
Oh my god, some of them are insane. The amount, because we'll talk about it. EVE has, oh my god,
a lot of stories.
Be careful, you lose all your money if you don't do your stuff.
They're the only ones who were brave enough to make it so that a subscription could be bought with in-game money, which puts a price tag on everything in US dollars. And so you have a shipment that's worth $50,000 US that just goes up in smoke.
What? It could be that much? Holy shit!
Oh, dude, it's because they were just carrying pilot licenses.
Jamie, hold it for the episode.
We're gonna hold it for the episode. Okay, we're gonna talk more about it later. But I'm so happy you guys joined us. I'm actually really happy about what we got through in today's episode, but I can guarantee you next week's episode is going to be full of excitement and entertainment. For those of you at home, I'm Jamie, the user Cats.
I am Lincoln, Linker Lindo.
I'm Travis, aka Tosh.
Mikhail, MC Squared.
And this has been Real Talks, motherfucker.
Have a good ass day.
Good ass day. I love ass day.